Hello, people, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Deep Roy Chaudhary, and I'm just a normal guy who talks about stuff that seems interesting and important to me. And today I'm going to talk about the fact that single player games are not dying. Part 3. Part 3, yeah, it is part 3. I have talked about this to some extent in my previous two videos. If you want to watch them, you can just go to the playlist. Uh, so, yeah, I'm just going to say it again. Single player games that are story driven, that do not have a pretty awesome, or that do not have a pretty well defined multiplayer experience, they are not going to die. I mean, just look at the role-playing game franchise, role-playing game genre. People, role-playing games are basically those kinds of games that have a huge emphasis on the storyline, on the plot line of the games, and compared to other games, compared to other action games or shooter games, first-person shooter games, these games are not as simple as first-person shooter games. In first-person shooter games, the only you are basically focused on basically shooting the enemies in front of you with a gun or with any other weapon that would be at your disposal. But in a role-playing game, which I've always preferred more than a first-person shooter game, and I'm pretty sure that there are people out there like me who would prefer, who like the RPG genre or role-playing game genre more than the first-person shooter genre. Uh, the reason I like it more is because there is a huge emphasis on on the storyline, on and each and every choice that you make within the course of that game actually affects the overall outcome of the game, overall outcome of various events or various instances that happen within the game. So basically, it is a much more realistic game, or it has much more similarity to the real world. I mean, first-person shooter games don't have a lot of choice because at the end of the day, you are just shooting bad people. But in a role-playing game, each and every choice, there are different kinds of dialogue choices that you can take. There are different ways that you can approach a particular situation inside the game, and that will affect a certain other event down the line inside the video game story. And each and every little thing is going to affect the the outcome of the story, the outcome of various events that are happening within the story of that role-playing game. And that is that aspect of role-playing games is basically what attracts a huge number of people to these kinds of games, because the story, there is a huge emphasis on storyline, and people spend hours and hours and a huge amount of time compared to traditional first-person shooter games. I'm not trying to bash first-person shooter games. I'm not trying to bash battle royale games like Fortnite and others. I'm not trying to bash them. I'm just saying that people have different tastes, different inclinations. All people are not going to be or cannot be expected to have an interest in multiplayer games, and there are people out there who just play games just for the sake of the story. They do not even bother with the multiplayer experience, like me. I generally don't like playing multiplayer games that much. I've always, most of the times, preferred playing games that have a huge emphasis on stories. Even on Android, there are so many games that are basically story driven. There are text based games. Basically, there's no graphically intensive action that is going on within that game, but the whole storyline is basically uh, shown in the form of text on different pages, and you are asked to make different choices within the context of the story, and that affects the outcome of the story down the line. And text-based adventure games, just google or just search on Play Store text-based adventure games, or search on App Store if you are on iPhone. If you are on iOS, just to search text-based adventure games, and you would know what I'm talking about. So people have always loved stories. So if you really think that what the stories do not matter, I mean, why do people go to the movies for the sake of for the sake of and spend 2 hours or 3 hours over there? People go there because they want to see a story in front of them, happening in front of them. Inside of a video game, you are actually in part of the story. You are actually playing as a character in the video game, which is actually part of the story, and that is the most amazing, brilliant aspect of video games. And that is the reason, that allure of story, that allure of that you are actually part of the story, that you are actually playing a very crucial part in the story, that you can live the life of a, or at least somewhat live the life of an assassin inside the Hitman games. You can be basically part of a secret group or a secret society in Assassin's Creed. Basically different kinds of games with different kinds of story, different kinds of storylines. You become a part of those stories, become a part of those plot lines, because you are actually playing the game and you are actually engrossed in the story. That's why story-driven games are not going to die. Single-player games are not going to die. I might talk about this more in the next video. Until then, please consider liking this video, please consider sharing this video with your friends and acquaintances, and please consider subscribing to my channel. That would help me a lot. And until the next video, stay safe, goodbye, and God bless you.